So back to vitamins. There we go, vitamins. So let's talk about the fat-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins are vitamins A, D, E, and K. And they're called fat-soluble vitamins because they can be stored in the fatty tissues of our body. So in fact, if you consume too many, in theory, these fat-soluble vitamins could be toxic because our body can build up so much. But the idea of fat-soluble vitamins is they don't have to be provided all the time because our body can store fat-soluble vitamins. Now, milk is a good source of a lot of these, and as we've already mentioned, vitamin D is added to milk because vitamin D is very necessary for calcium to be absorbed. So a lot of times the deficiencies of vitamin D and calcium look the same. Things like rickets, which is a weak bone in young growing livestock or in humans. We can find rickets. So vitamin D and calcium have to be found together to make strong and healthy bones. Vitamin A comes from our orange vegetables, not oranges, not citrus fruits, but like sweet potatoes and squashes and carrots. Now, the old theory is that vitamin A makes you see better at night. And then that's actually a false wives' tale that was started during World War II. So in World War II, the English had this new technology called radar, where they would send up a radar signal and it would tell the English when the Germans were flying over the English Channel to bomb London in the Battle of London. And so they didn't want the Germans to know that they had this new technology, but they had to have something out there that let the Germans think of why they always knew that the German bombers were flying. So they started this rumor that they were feeding their pilots carrots so that the pilots could see better at night. And that's what the Germans thought. The Germans thought that they were eating vitamin A from the carrots. They could see better at night. In reality, they were trying to hide this new technology called radar. Now, a deficiency in vitamin A can cause what's called night blindness, okay? So there is some little connection to sight, but it doesn't make you see better if you eat more vitamin A. Now, vitamin A is important for us as humans. It's important for livestock. Oftentimes, livestock are going to get deficient in vitamin A when they're eating kind of dry, brown forage, like the winter. If they're eating lush and green forage, like green grass, they're going to get an abundance of vitamin A from the beta-carotene that is in the grass, and they actually convert that beta-carotene to vitamin A. Vitamin E is also found in leafy green forages, and vitamin E is necessary in order for our blood clot. Or no. Excuse me, I'm confusing. Vitamin E is necessary for selenium to be absorbed. I'm looking ahead at vitamin K, and vitamin K is responsible for blood clotting. So we'll tell you a story about that in a second. Vitamin E is necessary for selenium absorption. A deficiency in selenium or a deficiency in vitamin E can cause white muscle disease, which can kill lambs and it can kill calves. It's actually a pretty traumatic death to watch. And white muscle disease causes a muscular dystrophy, which means the muscles stop working. And I've seen lambs die of this, and eventually what happens is they lose their hind end, they don't have any leg control, and then it works its way forward where they don't have any front leg control, and then they just lay there and flop their head because that's the only muscle that works, and it's eventually a death. That's vitamin E. Vitamin K helps our blood clot, okay? And so we had a dog one time. We were up camping up in the mountains, and this dog was real sick and had a real big bulge on their eye, like it poked something in their eye and it got real big and bulgy. This dog's name actually after this was Angel, because that dog went downhill real fast. My wife took the dog down off the mountain where we were camping and to the vet. We found out that dog had a mass internal bleed. And that mass internal bleeding, once they figured it out, they gave that dog vitamin K, and the vitamin K helped the blood clot. They also gave it a dog blood transfusion. The vet took her dog, took blood from her dog, gave it to our dog that was sick. The reason that dog was bleeding out internally, we learned after the fact, was that dog got into mouse poison. And mouse poison causes the blood to thin, and that's actually how it kills mice, is thin blood. So vitamin K saved our dog because she got into mouse poison, but that was vitamin K. Back to the vitamin A, as we mentioned, vitamin A comes from squash and sweet potatoes. And I happen to know a little blonde girl when she was growing up that loved sweet potato baby food and would be orange everywhere. And this little blonde girl was very fair-skinned and very blonde, had that real fair, light color skin, but she'd eat the sweet potato baby food, and then she'd be orange. And we'd scrub and scrub and scrub. We just thought we were bad parents. We couldn't keep our kid clean. And we'd get a washcloth and it would still be orange on her face and her cheeks where the baby food was. We'd get a wire brush and scrub. No, we didn't get a wire brush, but we tried hard to keep her kid clean. And we're in at the doctor one time, and the pediatrician said, "Oh, she must really like sweet potatoes or squash baby food." And we're like, "Yeah." And we admitted that we were bad parents because we couldn't keep her clean no matter how hard we scrubbed. And the doctor said, "Oh, no. The reason I know this is I can see that vitamin A in the real thin skin of her, that fair skin in her cheeks, and that fatty tissue of her cheeks. And so that orange color was stored in the tissue of her cheeks. It wasn't on the surface. So no matter how hard we scrubbed, we weren't going to get that out. But vitamin A comes from carrots and sweet potatoes and squashes, those kind of things. We get our vitamin D from being outside. We're supposed to be outside and exposed to the sun more than we are. This time of the year, it's hard because the days are short. It's dark at 4:30 or 5 at night. And so usually as humans, we get a deficiency of vitamin D. And not only does it prevent calcium from being absorbed, but it can cause seasonal affective disorder and depression. Vitamin D is actually very important for us. Okay, so that's a little bit more about the fat-soluble vitamins.